Dave, earlier this year, I engaged in a sustained investigation into the illusory nature of the separate self. A shift in perception occurred, and things have not been the same since. As a long-time Buddhist practitioner and meditation teacher, this has been slightly disorienting. Whilst I have a strong connection to the spiritual community, I am no longer able to relate to many of the practices and rituals I spent so long engaging with. This has brought me to non-duality, which is the only thing that seems to speak to this new perspective. Do you think it is possible to reconcile the direct path with a tradition that emphasizes a more developmental approach? Is it the case that one needs to be ready for the direct path? And do you think that developmental practices, such as meditation on the breath, are a useful tool for beginners who may lack the integration needed to make sense of the non-dual perspective? I think that, to some extent, the distinction between direct path and progressive path is artificial. The most important is for the teacher to be well qualified. I'd rather follow the gradual path being taught by a self-realized teacher than the direct path being taught by a miserable being. And because it is mostly about a direct transmission of happiness and freedom. The tools being used can be adapted. Sometimes some traditions are a little stiff, but a free spirit in this free tradition will ignite the freedom in others, even within the free tradition. In other words, you may choose to play the game of a tradition while being free from it. Remember, if you see the Buddha, you can always kill the Buddha. I remember there is a story in the Buddhist tradition where, in the Chan tradition, in the Zen, Chinese Zen tradition, the Zen tradition, well, this student of the master has the revelation of his true nature. And the next day, all the monks are there in meditation, very, very stiff like that, and the master walks by them. And this monk who just had the realization, instead of standing, sitting straight and according to the tradition, is there obviously, on purpose, sleeping and snoring. And the master passes by and says, "Oh, this one has understood." Andrew, I currently believe myself to be a separate individual with free will and choice. I try to understand that I don't choose my thoughts and I'm therefore not responsible for what happens in my life. But this doesn't seem to work. I still feel pain and misery over past actions and believe I could have chosen a better path. Am I responsible for what happens to me? If I make a bad decision, it is my fault, or did I not have a choice in the matter? I want to be free, but appear to be stuck. Now, as a separate entity, you make wrong decisions. But, the decisions that come from the belief to be a separate entity are wrong. However, you are not responsible for believing to be a separate entity. It's God who is responsible for that. So ultimately, you are not responsible of your past wrong decisions. Now, it doesn't prevent you from learning from your past mistakes. That's something different. Because the learning is something that happens now, that is happening now. And now you don't have to identify with a separate entity. Actually, in the now, there is never a separate entity. The separate entity always comes as a past or as a future event. But in the now, there is never a separate entity, because only the now is real, and a separate entity is not real. So now and ignorance are mutually exclusive, just as water and oil. Mary, recently I had a big release as regards breathing. It seems up to now I have always contracted while breathing. In this new way of breathing, I feel a better connection to the greater space, for want of a better description. It also brings me more into presence, which is nothing and everything at the same time. It feels like what real meditation would be about. How should I proceed? Is it best to drop any thoughts about it, but connect with his freedom in breathing whenever it is asked for? Yes. The question is about breathing the universal consciousness. Yes. Feel that it's a good exercise to feel that, for instance, the air you are breathing is love itself. It is not neutral. It is that this world and this life loves you. That what you are inhaling is love, that you are giving back is love. That you are, in fact, breathing also within yourself, that the space around you is you. You can use all of these visualizations, if you will, but only for a while. Don't be too staccanovist about those, don't be too duty-bound. Just do it only for as long as it pleases you. And then it will change the way you feel in your life when you are not practicing it, when you are not even thinking about it. You see, that's the beauty of it. We don't have to, because then it's natural, as I said earlier on. You cannot always stay like that with the spine straight. You can use this freedom of breathing, connect with your freedom as you breathe. Sense that it is the universe that does the breathing, that nothing here is doing it, that it is the flow of life that breathes through you, that you are being breathed, in other words. All these visualizations are good. But at some point, drop it, have something nice to eat or to drink, or watch a nice movie, do something completely free, whatever you're inspired to do.